I found my coffee mug in the refrigerator this morning. Again. That makes it the fourth time this week, and I know I didn't put it there. My name is Emily Thompson, and until 3 months ago, I thought I was losing my mind. The morning light filtered through our kitchen window as I stared at that cold ceramic mug, condensation beading on its surface. Richard walked in, his tie perfectly knotted, briefcase in hand. "Richard, sweetheart, you left your coffee in the fridge again." His voice carried that gentle, concerned tone I'd grown to dread. "Richard, maybe you should talk to Dr. Martinez about adjusting your medication." I set the mug on the counter with trembling hands. "I didn't put it there, Richard." He crossed the kitchen, placing his hands on my shoulders with theatrical tenderness. "Richard M., we've talked about this. The stress from your practice, the long hours. It's affecting your memory." I pulled away from his touch. "I'm a licensed psychologist. I know the difference between stress and—" "Richard, and maybe that's the problem. You're so busy analyzing everyone else, you can't see what's happening to yourself." He kissed my forehead, the gesture feeling more like a brand than affection. "Richard, I'm worried about you. We both should be." The front door clicked shut behind him, leaving me alone with my doubts. I stared at my reflection in the kitchen window, searching for signs of the madness he kept suggesting. My phone buzzed with a text from my colleague, "Sarah, coffee this afternoon, you sounded stressed yesterday." I had sounded stressed because I was losing entire conversations, misplacing important files, and finding my belongings in impossible places. 3 days later, I stood in my office, reviewing my appointment calendar. According to my planner, I had scheduled Mrs. Henderson for 2 different times. According to my computer, I had no appointment with her at all. Mrs. Henderson herself was calling, confused and upset. "Mrs. Henderson, Dr. Thompson, I've been waiting in your lobby for 20 minutes. Your secretary says there's no appointment." I felt the familiar chill of self-doubt creep up my spine. "I'm so sorry, Mrs. Henderson. There seems to be some confusion with my scheduling system." After rescheduling her and 3 other clients, I slumped in my chair. Sarah knocked on my door, her familiar smile faltering when she saw my expression. "Sarah M., you look exhausted." "I think I'm having some kind of breakdown." The words tumbled out before I could stop them. "Sarah, what kind of symptoms are you experiencing?" I explained the misplaced items, the scheduling conflicts, the gaps in my memory. "Sarah, when did this start?" "About 3 months ago, right after Richard got that promotion." Sarah's eyebrows furrowed slightly. "Sarah, have you seen a doctor?" "Richard's been suggesting I see Dr. Martinez. He thinks I need medication." "Sarah, what do you think?" I hesitated, my professional training warring with my personal confusion. "I think something's wrong, but this doesn't feel like typical stress-induced memory issues." "Sarah, trust your instincts. You're one of the sharpest people I know." That night, I decided to start documenting everything. If I was truly losing my mind, there would be patterns. If I wasn't, I opened a new journal and began writing. Day 1, coffee mug in refrigerator. I specifically remember leaving it on the counter after my morning session with the Peterson family. Day 1, Richard suggested Dr. Martinez again, seemed almost eager about it. The next morning, I placed my coffee mug deliberately on the kitchen table before going upstairs to shower. When I returned, it was in the refrigerator. This time, I was certain I hadn't moved it. I retrieved the mug and examined it carefully. No signs of tampering, no unusual residue, but something felt wrong about the weight of it. I poured the coffee into a different mug and took a sip. Bitter, more bitter than usual. I dumped the coffee down the sink and started fresh. Day 2, mug moved again. Coffee tastes off. Richard appeared in the doorway, already dressed for work. "Richard, another rough morning." The coffee tasted strange. "Richard, you've been saying that a lot lately. Maybe your taste buds are affected by whatever's going on." He moved to the coffee maker and poured himself a cup from the same pot. "Richard, tastes fine to me." I watched him drink it without any reaction. Maybe you're right. But I wasn't convinced. That afternoon, I installed a small security camera in our kitchen. I told myself it was to monitor my own behavior, to see if I was sleepwalking or having episodes I couldn't remember. The camera was tiny, hidden behind a decorative plant on the windowsill. I activated it before going to bed. The next morning, I found my reading glasses in the freezer. I specifically remembered placing them on my nightstand. My hands shook as I retrieved them, the frames ice cold against my skin. Richard M. Sweetheart, this is getting worse. He appeared behind me, his reflection in the freezer door looking almost pleased. Richard, I'm calling Dr. Martinez today. This can't wait. I'd like to review the footage from my camera first. Richard's face went blank. Richard, what camera? I installed a security camera yesterday to monitor my episodes. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Richard, you didn't tell me about any camera. I'm telling you now. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Richard M. installing secret cameras. That's paranoid behavior. Classic signs of a psychological break. Or classic signs of someone trying to figure out what's happening to them. Richard, where is this camera? I led him to the kitchen, pointing to the plant. The camera was gone. It was right here. Richard M. There's no camera. Maybe you thought about installing one but didn't actually do it. I searched frantically through the leaves, my heart pounding. The camera had definitely been there. Richard, this is exactly what I'm talking about. These delusions, the paranoia. We need professional help. I'm a professional. Richard, you're also my wife, and you're sick. That afternoon, I drove to the electronics store where I'd purchased the camera. The receipt was still in my purse, dated 2 days ago. I spoke with the same salesperson who had helped me select it. Salesperson, oh yeah, the mini spy cam. How's it working for you? Someone moved it. I need another one. This time, I bought 2 cameras and a more sophisticated recording system. I also stopped by my office and retrieved some psychiatric evaluation forms. If Richard wanted to play the mental health card, I'd document everything properly. That evening, I pretended to take the sleeping pill Richard had been encouraging me to use. Instead, I palmed it and flushed it down the bathroom sink. Then I went to bed, feigning deep sleep. At 2:17 a.m., I heard footsteps in the kitchen. I waited 15 minutes before slipping downstairs. The hidden cameras would catch everything, but I wanted to see for myself. I found Richard standing at the counter, carefully moving my reading glasses from the kitchen table to a plastic bag. He opened the freezer and placed them inside. My breath caught in my throat. I crept back upstairs before he finished his work. The next morning, I acted surprised to find my glasses in the freezer. Richard M. This is serious. I'm taking you to Dr. Martinez today. Of course. Honey, I think you're right. His relief was palpable. Richard, good. I've already made an appointment for this afternoon. While Richard was at work, I reviewed the camera footage. What I saw made my blood run cold. Richard moving my belongings. Richard adding something to my coffee from a small vial. Richard searching my purse and removing papers I'd hidden there. All done with methodical precision, like he'd been practicing. I made copies of everything and stored them in my office safe. Then I called Sarah. I need your help with something, but you have to promise to hear me out completely. Sarah, of course. What's wrong? Richard has been gaslighting me. Systematically. I have proof. Sarah, M. That's a serious accusation. I have video footage of him moving my belongings and drugging my coffee. The silence on the other end stretched for a long moment. Sarah, show me. We met at my office, and I played the recordings for her. Sarah's face grew pale as she watched. Sarah, my God, Emily, how long has this been going on? Months, I think, maybe longer. Sarah, we need to call the police. Not yet, I need to understand why first. Sarah, why does it matter? Because he's not just trying to make me look crazy, he's trying to have me committed. I showed her the research I'd done on Dr. Martinez. He's not a legitimate psychiatrist. He lost his license in California for falsifying patient records. Sarah, how did you find this out? Professional curiosity. I looked him up after Richard kept pushing me to see him. Sarah. So Richard found a corrupt doctor who would declare you mentally incompetent, which would give Richard power of attorney over my assets. Sarah. Your inheritance from your father. $2 million that becomes accessible to my spouse if I'm declared mentally unfit. Sarah. We're calling Detective Johnson right now. No, I have a better idea. I explained my plan to Sarah, watching her expression shift from concern to admiration. Sarah, that's either brilliant or insane. Given what we know about Richard, probably a little of both. That afternoon, I met Dr. Martinez as planned. His office was shabby, located in a strip mall between a check-cashing place and a nail salon. Dr. Martinez, Mrs. Thompson, your husband tells me you've been experiencing some difficulties. He was thin, nervous, with sweat stains under his arms despite the cool weather. Yes, I've been very confused lately. I played the part perfectly, describing symptoms that would support a diagnosis of severe mental illness. Dr. Martinez, these episodes you're describing, have you considered that you might be a danger to yourself or others? Sometimes I feel like I might hurt someone. The lie came easily, my professional training helping me understand exactly what he wanted to hear. Dr. Martinez, I think we should discuss inpatient treatment. You mean a hospital? Dr. Martinez, a facility where you can get the help you need. Your husband is very concerned. He's such a good man. I don't deserve him. Dr. Martinez, with your permission, I'd like to start the paperwork for a 72-hour hold. I signed the papers with a shaking hand, playing my role to perfection. That evening, Richard was unusually affectionate. Richard, how did your appointment go? Dr. Martinez thinks I need to be hospitalized. Richard, oh sweetheart, I'm so sorry it's come to this. But his eyes were bright with satisfaction. Richard, when? Tomorrow morning. He's arranging everything. Richard, I'll drive you myself. You're so good to me, even when I'm like this. Richard, that's what marriage means. In sickness and in health. The irony wasn't lost on me. That night, I prepared for the final phase of my plan. I called Sarah and Detective Johnson, giving them detailed instructions. Sarah, are you sure about this once you're in that facility? They could keep you for weeks. Not if everything goes according to plan. Detective Johnson, we'll be monitoring the situation closely. If anything goes wrong, it won't. Richard's too confident now to be careful. The next morning, Richard was whistling as he made coffee. He even offered to make me breakfast. Richard, big day today. Are you nervous? A little, but I trust Dr. Martinez. Richard, he's a good doctor. He knows what's best for you. I watched him carefully as he spoke, noting the way his eyes never quite met mine. Richard, I've already talked to your office. Told them you'll be taking an extended leave. What about my patients? Richard, Sarah's going to handle the urgent cases. Everything else can wait until you're better. You've thought of everything? Richard, I just want you to get well. On the drive to the facility, Richard seemed almost giddy. Richard, you know, this might be the best thing that's ever happened to us. How so? Richard, well, once you're feeling better, we can start fresh. Maybe travel. Buy that house on the lake we looked at. That house costs $800,000. Richard, we'll have the money soon enough. I let that statement hang in the air. The facility Dr. Martinez had chosen was a rundown psychiatric hospital on the outskirts of town. The kind of place that accepted patients with cash payments and didn't ask too many questions. Richard, this doesn't look like much. Dr. Martinez said they specialize in cases like mine. A heavy-set orderly met us at the entrance. Orderly, Mrs. Thompson, Dr. Martinez is waiting for you. Richard, I'll just help get her settled. Orderly, sorry, sir. Family visits start tomorrow. Richard, but I'm her husband. Orderly, doctor's orders. Patients need time to adjust without outside influences. I saw panic flicker across Richard's face. Richard M., I'll call you tonight. Okay. Of course. I kissed his cheek, noting how he flinched at the contact. The orderly led me down a dingy hallway to Dr. Martinez's office. Dr. Martinez, Mrs. Thompson, we're going to take very good care of you. I hope so, I'm scared. Dr. Martinez, no need to be scared in a few days. You'll sign some papers that will help your husband take care of your affairs while you recover. What kind of papers? Dr. Martinez, just legal documents, nothing to worry about. I nodded obediently, playing the confused patient perfectly. What Dr. Martinez didn't know was that Detective Johnson and 2 other officers were positioned outside the building. What Richard didn't know was that I had never actually checked into the facility. The orderly was an undercover police officer, and in exactly 1 hour, they would execute search warrants for both Dr. Martinez's office and my house. I spent the next 60 minutes in a police station conference room, reviewing my evidence with the district attorney, D.A. Williams. This is incredibly sophisticated gaslighting. The systematic nature of it suggests premeditation. Richard's not stupid. He planned this for months, maybe years. D.A. Williams, the fake doctor, the fraudulent medical records, the systematic drugging. We're looking at multiple felonies. Detective Johnson, teams are in position. Are you ready for Phase 2? Let's do this. At exactly 3 p.m., police raided Dr. Martinez's office. They found him preparing forged commitment papers and a fraudulent power of attorney document. Simultaneously, another team searched my house. In Richard's home office, hidden behind a false panel, they discovered a treasure trove of evidence. Detailed plans for my breakdown. Correspondence with Dr. Martinez dating back 6 months. Research on psychiatric medications and their effects. Financial documents showing Richard's mounting debt from failed investments. And most damning of all, a recorded conversation between Richard and Dr. Martinez discussing my treatment. Richard, how long before she signs the papers? Dr. Martinez, usually 72 hours. The medication makes them very compliant. Richard, and then I have full access to her accounts. Dr. Martinez, complete financial guardianship. She'll be too unstable to manage her own affairs. Richard, perfect. I need that money by next week, or my creditors will come calling. I listened to the recording with Detective Johnson, my hands clenched in my lap. Detective Johnson, we got him. Emily. This is enough to put him away for a very long time. At 4:30 p.m., Richard arrived at the psychiatric facility for his planned visit. He found Detective Johnson waiting for him instead. Detective Johnson, Richard Thompson, you're under arrest for fraud, conspiracy, attempted poisoning, and elder abuse. Richard, what, there must be some mistake. Detective Johnson, your wife is fine. By the way, remarkably sane for someone you've been trying to drive crazy. Richard's face went through a series of emotions: confusion, anger, then pure rage. Richard, you can't prove anything. She's mentally ill. Ask Dr. Martinez. Detective Johnson, Dr. Martinez is in custody. So is his fake medical license. Richard, Emily put you up to this. She's paranoid, delusional. Detective Johnson, sir, we have video footage of you drugging your wife's coffee and moving her belongings to make her think she was losing her mind. Richard's legs seemed to give out, and he sank into a nearby chair. Richard, she was recording me. Detective Johnson, she's a psychologist, Mr. Thompson. She knows how the mind works. The arraignment was scheduled for the following Monday. I sat in the courtroom, watching Richard in his orange jumpsuit, shackled at the ankles. He looked smaller somehow, diminished without his expensive suits and confident demeanor. Judge Morrison, Mr. Thompson, you're charged with conspiracy to commit fraud, attempted poisoning, psychological abuse, and conspiracy to falsely imprison. How do you plead? Richard's attorney whispered something in his ear. Richard, not guilty, Your Honor. I expected that. The trial lasted 2 weeks. Sarah testified about my mental state and professional competence. Detective Johnson presented the video evidence. The district attorney played the recordings of Richard and Dr. Martinez planning my commitment. Richard's defense tried to paint me as an unstable wife seeking revenge, but the evidence was overwhelming. On the final day, I took the stand. D.A. Williams, Dr. Thompson, can you tell us about your marriage to the defendant? For 15 years. I thought I knew Richard. I believed he loved me. D.A. Williams, when did that change? When I realized that love doesn't involve systematically destroying someone's sense of reality, I looked directly at Richard as I spoke. Love doesn't involve drugging someone's coffee or hiding their belongings to make them question their sanity. D.A. Williams, what impact did the defendant's actions have on you? He almost succeeded in making me believe I was losing my mind. As a psychologist, I know how dangerous that can be. D.A. Williams, how so? When you can't trust your own perceptions, you can't trust yourself, you become vulnerable to anyone who claims to know better. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. When they returned, the foreman stood. Foreman, on the charge of conspiracy to commit fraud, we find the defendant guilty. Richard's head dropped into his hands. Foreman, on the charge of attempted poisoning, we find the defendant guilty. Foreman, on the charge of psychological abuse, we find the defendant guilty. Foreman, on the charge of conspiracy to falsely imprison, we find the defendant guilty. Judge Morrison Richard Thompson, you are hereby sentenced to 12 years in state prison, with the possibility of parole after 8 years. Richard's attorney immediately announced they would appeal. But as Richard was led away in shackles, he looked back at me one last time. His expression wasn't angry or remorseful. It was confused, as if he genuinely couldn't understand how his plan had failed. That night, Sarah and I celebrated with dinner at my favorite restaurant. Sarah, so what's next for Dr. Emily Thompson? I'm starting a support group for gaslighting survivors. Sarah, that's perfect. And I'm writing a book about psychological manipulation in relationships. Sarah, Richard's not going to like that. Richard is going to be in prison for the next 8 years. He doesn't get a vote. We raised our glasses in a toast. Sarah, to trusting your instincts, to fighting back. 6 months later, I stood in front of a room full of women who had experienced similar psychological abuse. My name is Dr. Emily Thompson, and I want to tell you about the morning I found my coffee mug in the refrigerator. The women leaned forward, recognizing something familiar in my story. I want you to know that your reality is valid, your perceptions matter, and when someone tries to convince you otherwise, that's not love, that's control. A woman in the front row raised her hand. Woman, how did you know to fight back? Because I remembered who I was before he tried to make me forget. Woman, what if we can't remember? Then we help each other remember. That's why we're here. Over the following months, our support group grew. Women shared their stories of gaslighting, emotional manipulation, and psychological abuse. We created a network of survivors who could recognize the warning signs and support each other through recovery. My book, When Love Becomes Control, was published a year later. It became a bestseller, helping thousands of people identify and escape manipulative relationships. Richard's appeals were all denied. His sentence was upheld, and he remained in prison. I never visited him. I never wrote to him. He had stolen months of my life by making me question my own mind. I wasn't going to give him any more time. Instead, I focused on building a new life. I met with Dr. Martinez's other victims, helping them understand that their confusion and memory problems hadn't been their fault. I testified before the state legislature about the need for better oversight of psychiatric facilities. I dated again, carefully and slowly, learning to trust my instincts about people, and every morning, I made my coffee and left the mug exactly where I placed it, because I knew it would still be there when I returned. 2 years after Richard's conviction, I received a letter from him. I almost threw it away without reading it, but curiosity won out. Emily, it began. I've had a lot of time to think about what happened. I want you to know that I never meant to hurt you. I was in debt, desperate, and I made terrible choices. But I did love you in my own way. I hope someday you can forgive me. I read the letter twice, then shredded it. Love doesn't drug someone's coffee. Love doesn't hide their belongings to make them question reality. Love doesn't conspire to have someone committed to steal their money. What Richard felt for me wasn't love, it was ownership. And I was nobody's property. Today, I run a thriving practice specializing in trauma recovery. My support group has expanded into a nonprofit organization that helps abuse survivors nationwide. I speak at conferences about psychological manipulation and how to recognize it. And I sleep peacefully every night, knowing that my perceptions are my own. Richard tried to steal my mind, my money, and my freedom. But he couldn't steal my strength. He couldn't steal my intelligence. And he couldn't steal my determination to help others who have faced similar battles. Sometimes people ask me if I'm angry about what he did. The answer is no. I'm grateful. Because his attempt to destroy me actually revealed just how strong I really was. He thought he was the puppet master, pulling strings and controlling the narrative. But in the end, I was the one writing the story. And my story has a very different ending than the one he planned. If you're listening to this and something feels familiar, trust that feeling. If someone in your life is making you question your own reality, that's not love, that's control. Your perceptions matter. Your experiences are valid. And you have the strength to fight back, even when it feels impossible. I know because I've been there. And I'm here to tell you that you can survive this. You can reclaim your life. And you can help others do the same. If this story resonated with you, I'd love to hear about your own experiences with overcoming manipulation or gaslighting. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories of resilience, redemption, and the power of fighting back. Because everyone deserves to live free from psychological manipulation. Everyone deserves to trust their own mind. And everyone deserves a love that builds them up instead of tearing them down. Thank you for listening. And remember, you are stronger than you know.